The wind was already howling when the power went out. Not the normal kind of outage either. This was the kind where the lights flicker once, twice, and then everything goes silent. No heat, no internet, no street lights, just darkness, freezing air, and the sound of trees cracking under ice. I didn't panic. I was prepared. I rolled my generator out, hooked it up the way I always do, and within minutes my house had heat again. My elderly neighbor came over to warm up, another neighbor charged their phone. In the middle of a winter storm, we were safe. That's when the HOA truck pulled up. Before we go any further, if you enjoy stories where entitled HOA Karens push too far and get hit with real consequences, make sure you hit like and subscribe right now. This is Karen Stories Daily, and what happens next still makes people shake their heads. The woman stepped out wearing a bright jacket, clipboard in hand, boots way too clean for the weather. She looked annoyed, not concerned, not cold, just irritated that something was happening without her permission. She pointed at my generator and said it violated HOA noise rules. I thought she was joking. I explained calmly that the entire neighborhood was without power, that temperatures were dropping fast, and that people were literally relying on that generator for heat. She didn't care. She said rules were rules and that generators weren't allowed without prior approval, in the middle of a winter storm. I told her I'd shut it down once the storm passed. She shook her head and said no. She said it needed to be removed immediately. Then she did something I didn't expect. She radioed the HOA security contractor. Within minutes, 2 guys showed up with a truck, and before I could even process what was happening, they disconnected my generator and loaded it up. They seized it. My neighbors stood there in shock. One of them protested. Another shouted that this was dangerous. The HOA woman told everyone to go back inside and bundle up. That's when I stopped being patient. Because here's the part she didn't know. I'm the county sheriff, but I didn't say that yet. I watched them drive off with my generator while the temperature dropped and the storm got worse. I went back inside, checked on my neighbor, made sure she was okay, and then I made a phone call. One phone call. The storm didn't slow down. Ice coated the roads. Emergency calls were coming in non-stop, cars stranded, houses freezing, medical emergencies spiking. And my generator, a generator that could have helped more people, was sitting in an HOA storage lot. Within an hour, I had deputies knocking on my door, not to question me, to check on me, to check on my neighbors. They knew exactly who I was. That's when things started moving fast. The HOA woman came back. This time she wasn't confident. She said there had been complaints, that she was just doing her job. She asked me not to escalate things. I looked at her and finally said it. "Ma'am, I'm the county sheriff." Her face drained of color. She laughed nervously and said I was lying. I showed her my badge, then my ID. Then my phone rang. It was the county emergency manager. The HOA had just crossed a line they couldn't uncross. If you're still with me, stay tuned, because this is where things start to spiral for them in ways they never imagined. The county declared a local emergency before sunrise. Warming centers were opened. Deputies were sent door to door in the hardest hit areas. And the first thing the emergency manager asked me was one simple question. Why did the HOA confiscate critical emergency equipment during a storm? That question spread like wildfire. By mid-morning, the HOA president was calling me non-stop. Voicemails, texts, apologies, excuses. They said they didn't know, said it was a misunderstanding, said they were worried about liability. I told them to return the generator immediately. They didn't. Instead, they tried to review the situation. That was a mistake. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't threaten anyone. I just documented everything. Times, names, emails, orders, and then I forwarded it all to county legal and emergency management. Turns out, under state law, interfering with emergency preparedness equipment during a declared storm isn't just an HOA violation. It's a crime, and not a small one. Deputies were sent to the HOA storage lot. They recovered my generator within minutes. They also found 2 others the HOA had confiscated overnight from different residents. That discovery changed everything. Neighbors came forward. Stories poured in. People with oxygen machines, families with newborns. Residents who had been told they'd be fined if they tried to stay warm. The HOA wasn't enforcing rules anymore. They were endangering lives. By the time the generator was back at my house, the HOA board was in full panic mode. Emergency meetings, lawyers, insurance calls. The HOA president tried to claim ignorance, but the paper trail said otherwise. The woman who started it all, she stopped answering calls. County legal stepped in. A cease and desist order was issued immediately. The HOA was ordered to stop all enforcement actions during the emergency. Failure to comply would result in criminal charges. And that still wasn't the end. Because once the storm passed, the investigation continued. If you're still listening, the final part is where the consequences land, and where the HOA learns that power doesn't mean immunity. When the roads finally cleared and the power came back, the neighborhood felt different, quieter, heavier. People weren't angry anymore. They were focused. County legal released their findings within weeks. The HOA had no authority to seize personal emergency equipment. None. What they did violated state emergency laws, county ordinances, and basic common sense. The board was dissolved. Not fined. Not warned. Dissolved. The management company lost its contract. The HOA president resigned immediately. The woman who ordered the seizure was banned from holding any HOA position in the county ever again, and the county issued a public statement clarifying that during emergencies, HOA rules do not override public safety. My generator? It's still here, and now it powers more than just my house. During the next storm, we set up a warming station right in the driveway. No one tried to stop us. Before we wrap this up, drop a comment and tell me, have you ever dealt with an HOA that forgot they weren't above the law? And if this story made you shake your head, share it with someone who loves seeing entitlement meet reality. This is Karen Stories Daily. And sometimes all it takes is one storm to expose who really has power. The storm didn't ease up overnight. In fact, it got worse. Ice kept building on the roads, and emergency calls were stacking up across the county. People were losing heat fast. Some neighborhoods were completely dark, and every minute without power mattered. By early morning, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Deputies, emergency management, county officials, everyone was trying to coordinate resources. And right in the middle of all that, I was still without my generator. The same generator the HOA had taken like it was some lawn decoration instead of critical equipment. That's when the county declared a local emergency. As soon as that happened, everything changed. Emergency authority kicked in. Public safety rules overrode local regulations. And suddenly, the HOA's little rulebook meant absolutely nothing. The first question the county emergency manager asked me was simple but sharp. Why isn't HOA interfering with emergency power sources during a declared storm? I didn't answer emotionally. I answered with facts. Times, names, photos, video, statements from neighbors. Everything was documented. By mid-morning, the HOA president started calling. Over and over. Voicemails piled up. The tone shifted fast, from confident to nervous to apologetic. He said they were just trying to enforce consistency. He said they didn't realize the seriousness of the situation. I told him one thing. Return the generator immediately. They didn't. Instead, they said they needed to review liability concerns and have a board discussion. That was a mistake. Because under state law, interfering with emergency preparedness equipment during an active emergency isn't an HOA issue. It's a criminal one. County legal was looped in. Emergency management was looped in. And within the hour, I authorized deputies to head to the HOA storage lot. Not to negotiate, but to recover property. They found my generator loaded behind a locked gate. They also found something worse. 2 other generators confiscated from other homes in the neighborhood. Homes with elderly residents, one with a family that had a child dependent on medical equipment. That discovery flipped the situation from bad to serious. Deputies documented everything. Serial numbers, conditions, storage setup. Then they secured and returned all of it immediately. Word spread fast after that. Neighbors started calling in. People who'd been told they'd be fined for using space heaters. People who were warned not to create noise disturbances during a blizzard. People who were scared to push back because they didn't want trouble. By the time my generator was back up and running, the HOA board was in full panic mode. Emergency meetings were called, lawyers were contacted, insurance companies were dragged in. The woman who ordered the seizure, she stopped answering her phone entirely. County legal issued an immediate cease and desist order. The HOA was ordered to stop all enforcement actions for the duration of the emergency. Any further interference would result in arrests. That order went out to every board member, and suddenly, the people who thought they had power had none. When the storm finally moved on, it didn't leave quietly. It left behind broken branches, iced over roads, and a neighborhood that had just watched its so-called leadership collapse in real time. Power crews worked non-stop, and as lights slowly came back on, something else became very clear. The HOA was finished. The county investigation didn't slow down just because the weather improved. In fact, that's when it really started. County legal reviewed every action the HOA had taken during the storm, every email, every text, every recorded call. And once it was all laid out, there was no spinning it. The HOA had no legal authority to seize personal property. They had no emergency exemptions, no coordination with county services. What they did violated state emergency management laws and directly interfered with public safety. Within weeks, the findings were made official. The HOA board was dissolved. Not warned, not fined, dissolved. The management company that backed them lost its contract immediately and was barred from handling any HOA in the county. The HOA president resigned the same day the report went public. The woman who ordered the generator seizure was permanently banned from holding any AOA position within county limits. No appeals, no second chances. The county also issued a public statement making one thing crystal clear: during emergencies, HOA rules do not override public safety or common sense. Ever. The neighborhood changed after that. People talked to each other more, checked in during bad weather, shared resources. During the next storm, generators were everywhere, extension cords running between houses, warming stations set up without fear. No HOA truck showed up. No clipboard, no warnings. My generator is still here. It's not just backup anymore. It's community equipment. And every time I hear it start up, I'm reminded that real authority exists for one reason only: to protect people, not control them. Before we wrap up, drop a comment and tell me, have you ever dealt with an HOA that thought it was above the law? And if this story hit home, share it with someone who loves seeing entitlement meet reality. This is Karen Stories Deli, and sometimes all it takes is one winter storm to expose who really has power.